Yeah, so one of the problems you run into when you have a big neon sign collection is the bracket on the back. Um, these brackets are really convenient to hang signs. Sometimes the bracket is completely blocked or obstructed by the face of the sign. So in this case, if you're trying to hang the sign, you can't really see where the bracket's at. And the only way to get a good, decent measurement of exactly where you would need to hang that sign, especially if it's in close proximity to nearby signs, the only real method you can use is to measure from the one bracket hole and measure out about how far the end of the neon comes out in this direction, and then again from that hole up to where you get to the top part of the neon sign. And that's one of the ways of doing it, and that's probably how a lot of people do it, which is fine, it works out good. But when you've got the bracket that's obstructing behind the sign and you can't see the bracket, I've got another way that I'm going to show you here, how to make that easier. Get yourself just a small machine screw with a washer and a little hex nut on there. And usually these brackets have one bracket that has a small little skinny hole through here. So what I do is I put the washer and the end of the head of the screw through one side, and then keep the hex nut on the other side. And then I take a nut driver, and then I just very gently tighten this screw to the end of the neon sign. And so let me pause the video here really quick, and I'll show you what the next step is. Okay, so I'm going to show you where I want this neon sign to go. I want it to go in between the dartboard and the Camel cigarette sign. I want to try to center as much as possible between those two devices here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the neon sign, and I'll show you this again. I've got the screw and the hex nut already tightened into the one side of the bracket. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over to the wall, and I'm just going to kind of visually look at where I want the sign to go approximately between the dartboard and the Camel sign. So I say I want to put it right here, so now I'm going to rub up and down against the drywall. That squeaking noise you're hearing is the screw making a mark into the drywall. So I want to kind of rub up and down so I know I've made a mark. And I can see my mark. So bring it over here, show you. So this right here, that's the mark I made right there. So now I know that that's where the one side of the screw goes. In this case, you can see I put the screw on the right hand side of the bracket if you're facing the sign. So the next step is going to be, now that I know where the right screw goes, I take my tape measure and measure how many inches it is from that screw that I put into the bracket. Oops, my finger's in the way here. I'm going to measure from that end of the screw to the other side. You can see it's about 3 inches. So now I know that over here, since this is my mark for the screw on the right hand side, I simply measure over 3 inches from that mark, and then I make a mark at 3 inches with the tape measure, and then make sure both screws are level and hang the sign, and that's what you do. So for the sake of this video, the method I just showed is how to hang a sign at ground level to make it easier. You can use the same method when you're hanging signs in a tight confined area, even above your head. And so this sign is actually, and I'll show you the final product of it, I'm going to hang it up here as close as I can get it to the roof line, and right above this this plumbing pipe. I think it's the gas line going into the house here. So I've already kind of held the sign, and this is a really tall roof here, so I had to like hold it up above my head. But this black mark you see right there, that's the mark that the screw made. So now I know that's where the right hand screw goes. In this case, I'm going to measure over 3 inches, make sure the screws are level, and I should be able to hang the sign to where it's close to the roof line and also not too far away from the pipe here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've screwed my 2 screws for the drywall, and I've lucked out that there's stud up there, so I didn't have to do any drywall anchors like I normally have to do with hanging these signs. But let me climb the ladder here and show you real quick. So there's the 2 screws I did. So what I always do before I hang the sign is I take my level and make sure that both screws are level. In this case they are. And then the final measurement you can make is to ensure that you've got the right distance. So that bracket was 3 inches between the holes, and we've got 3 inches between the screws there. So next step is to hang it, and that should be it. Okay, now that the screws are in place and everything is level and measured the right length, go ahead and take the sign, climb up my step stool here onto my workbench. It's always a good idea to kind of peek your head back there and make sure that the screws did indeed go through the holes. It looks like they did. All right. There we go. Sign's hung. It's close to the roof line, as you can see, and just to the right of the pipe going through the wall there.